You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to American Weed Realm Radio. I'm Josh Stanley. I'm your host, as always, and we've got a little change tonight, as I hope everyone got the information, got the email. We're starting at 6:30, obviously, and we've given ourselves another half hour. We found that we have so much information to cover in this radio show that we just can't fit it in an hour. So, you know what? We appreciate all the questions that have come in from all of, not just the fans, but the parents of Dravet syndrome children and cancer patients from all over the world. We're getting questions from Scotland. We're getting questions from Australia, from Amsterdam. And so we've lengthened our show. And tonight we have a very, very exciting show planned for you. And you're not going to get one of the patented Josh Stanley rants tonight because we have to get right into the show. So from now on, what you're going to be able to expect is you're going to have Jennifer Murray and Chris Stubbs, our resident scientists here. I call them our resident nerds. And
he's the nerd. Just kidding.
And we're going to be able to nerd out from 6:30 to 7, and we're going to talk and we're going to answer your questions regarding THC, CBD, medical marijuana as a whole. We're going to start out with that tonight, and then we've got a very special guest here. Steph Sherer is in, and she's the director of ASA, Americans for Safe Access. And she's in town just for the night. Very special guest. Wasn't advertised. She's popping in, and we can't wait to talk to her, and she'll come up next. Then we have a very important patient story. Brian Kogan is in the studio tonight, and Brian is a medical marijuana patient, a very new medical marijuana patient, licensed marijuana patient, that came from Florida and has kicked his opiate or painkiller addiction from Florida coming to Colorado and getting on this oil. So we're going to hear his story. And then we have a really I have an exciting announcement to make. We have Dr. Shackelford in the studio. We're going to have him here every week, and this segment, isn't that great, Jen?
That is great, because it's hard to wrangle him.
It's hard to wrangle Dr. Shackelford. He's all over the place, and he is all about helping people. He does recommendations. He's a Harvard-educated MD, and he is probably the foremost authority on cannabis medications, cannabis science. And so we have this new segment that we're starting with Dr. Shackelford called Ask Dr. Shaq. So we ask you that you blog in, we ask that you call in, and send your pre-questions. We have a load of them tonight that we're going to get to. And then at the end of the show, as always, we're going to do our best to have time to take your call-ins and your blogs. So without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to get started with Science Corner. And let me introduce, as always, Jennifer Murray and Chris Stubbs.
Hello.
Howdy.
Guys, we have had quite a few questions come across the line this week.
Good.
Yep, and we're gonna do our best to tackle these. And anything else? I want you guys to know anything else is on your mind. What's going on in the industry? You know, testing, samples.
Insanity.
Well, real quick, I did want to address, because I know they're waiting to hear about putting this symposium together. So,
Yes.
Chris is working on figuring out a date and getting some spaces lined up. So soon, and we're working on it, so as soon as we have something. I just wanted them to know that we're working on that.
Well, expound on that just a little bit. I don't think anybody really knows. What is this symposium? Tell us what's going on.
This comes from what I've seen in the brewing industry. Long story short, I've organized a brewing symposium the last 6 years. That's been running for 18 years. And it's a one-day annual seminar series with breakfast, lunch, and dinner party catered. We do a keynote speaker and a panel discussion. And since I started working in the industry a few years ago, it was my goal to do the same thing, clone that event for medical cannabis and do an industry seminar series. Well, now that we've got all this steam behind the CBD and the Dravet group, we've decided to clone the event and go along with that, but incorporate, especially into the panel discussion, that area specifically. So we'll have a group of parents, a group of patients, a group of doctors, and industry experts. We'll have to figure out the rest of the speaking schedule, but the goal is to put on a cannabis symposium that represents the major areas of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis and what our, how it's all integrated, and really help answer some big questions and get some thoughts and minds together.
So hopefully people can fly in and be able to get the answers they need from not only Chris and the science, but also doctors as well. So we're really working hard on that. I just want them to know that we are, and sorry that we just don't have time to answer all the stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I want them to know we are working on it.
Well,
Rebecca.
Guys, and that's what Science Corner's about.
Yeah.
People tune into this so that they can get their answers for their kids with Dravet syndrome or any form of epilepsy, any form of cancer, any form of treatment that cannabis works for. Do you have a date set on this symposium?
We don't yet, but it's
looking
going to
into
be most likely late September.
Okay, late September. And all you listeners out there, and we mean this wholeheartedly, my whole family, the Stanley family, we have patients that come in that are very curious about this type of treatment, some unfortunately very ill patients. So for this symposium, get in contact with us, realmofcaring@gmail.com. Send us emails. We'll put you up at our house, and we mean that. We want you here. Everything that we're doing is not about activating, it's about education.
Yeah.
Everything that we do, and so the more light we can shed on this topic, the better. And we've seen so many people do a 180, right?
Oh my God.
People go, oh, that's what medicinal cannabis is all about. This is really what it can conquer.
Yep.
This is what it can do.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about people that previously would have wanted to burn us at the stake.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think this is so important. The symposium being one piece of it. I mean, I have a feeling I've sold out every brewing symposium I've done. There's no question this one will sell out. It's just a matter of how big we want it to be.
Right.
So I'm really excited about it, but what we do on a daily basis impacts everyone, and it's.
But
really
I just wanted to make sure they knew that. But let's get on to the questions.
Okay, let's get on to the. Sorry.
Just kidding.
Okay, so
Awesome.
I have a list of questions, and we're going to do our best to get to everyone's questions here. But I want to start with Lisa Riley.
Okay.
Lisa, I want to thank you for your question. First of all, I appreciate you taking the time. You asked, is juicing the fresh flower, of the plant, does that give you a high enough CBD content, and why would we have to activate it to be useful for epilepsy or whatever condition?
That part of that's kind of subjective. I mean, it all depends on the strain that you're working with, and if that can be shown to have a high ratio of CBD to THC, or CBD acid to THC acid, more importantly, then through juicing the flowers, it would be the only way to get close to that level.
Not the leaf.
But are you going to get to that level without that activation? And I think that's the question. And there's a lot of people talking about it, but
It's not about the activation, though, is it?
It can be, and I mean that's one thing I wrestle with, is what works with specific people and how to prognosticate. You know what I mean? This is going to work and this isn't going to work for you. Activation helps because you're turning cannabidiolic acid into CBD, and that directly competes at the receptor, and the entourage effect that we've talked about in the past with Delta-9 and CBD being present, there's something to be said for that. Juicing flowers and keeping the ratio of liquid very low, who's to say that you can't reach an effective level? What you're taking in every day, your dosing schedule might have to be higher than a concentrated infusion like that. But
you might want to. Why don't we give a little bit of definition of the plant? I mean, flower, leaf, that kind of thing, trim.
That is important. Traditionally, when you hear about juicing, it is fan leaves or sugar leaves that have been juiced.
That you normally trim off.
Yeah, and the flower itself is the bud, the cola. That's
trichomes.
That contain the highest content of all the different trichomes that are producing those resins. And so, if you juice the flower, you're getting the most potency on a weight basis, on a weight percentage basis. But that's still not going to, so let me back up here. In a daily schedule of dosing from juice, I would expect to reach the same level you'd have to take in a lot more, and that might not be practical.
Well,
Right.
and practical, and Lisa, it's not cost effective.
No.
I think really what we're getting at,
It's
because to produce the flower, you're talking about a 6 to 12 week cycle depending on that strain.
Right. Yeah.
And as you juice that and as you store that's why we go through the process of curing,
Refining the oil.
of refining the oil,
Extracting, yep.
and I understand your question, Lisa, because if you juice that flower without activating it, you don't have that psychoactive effect. And I understand that, but at the same
CBD is
time,
not psychoactive.
CBD is not
regardless.
psychoactive, correct?
Activated
But
or
even
not.
if you were to juice the plant that, let's say, for example, that we created, the Charlotte's Web or the
Right.
Cigna, you could basically you're going to run out of flour.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not cost effective.
And that's, if you're looking at 13, 14, 15% CBD acid, which is the form it's in the flower, it seems to me that it'd be hard to get that dose. And that's not to say there's not analgesic effects. It's not to say that it won't help. I could see a dual mechanism there if you're taking an infusion and juicing. But as far as being as effective as an infusion or a raw oil, I think that's the way to go.
Absolutely. And
Practically.
we've seen studies, and when we've heard of juicing raw flowers for anything from abdominal syndromes to ulcers and things like this, and I'm testament of that. I would juice the flower, and it would help with my pre-ulcer syndromes that I've had since I've gotten into this business. So there is certainly that. However, until the state or the country, or until this is widely accepted and we can grow this for
Right.
Ad
without
nauseam.
limitation,
Yeah.
then at that point in time, I think this question could be better answered.
Yeah.
So let's
Right.
move on to the next question here. This is from Rebecca Brown, and Rebecca, as always, I
Hello,
give a
Rebecca.
shout out to you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for putting the CBD group together. It's growing every week, and that's exactly what this is about. The CBD group, American Weed Realm Radio, the Realm of Caring, Cann Labs, we're all in this together. So thank you so much, Rebecca. Rebecca has two questions. First, she has a question for Dr. Shackelford, but I want to tackle this as well. I want to get your opinion on this as well, and then we'll bring this back for Shaq. Really, she wants to know on butane oil extraction for the children, if he feels it's safe, or he would recommend Everclear, okay, or a food grade Everclear that's 95% alcohol. Rebecca's not sure that she can get that in Michigan.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first question.
Okay. And that's unfortunate. I mean, even though Everclear's everywhere, who knows what you can get your hands on. And I definitely realize that butane and other solvents, they've all got different safety levels, and a lot of that's based on what the source is. I can go down the street and buy propane. I can go down the street and buy butane. Those are commonly used in this state for extraction purposes, and I guarantee you that a lot of the oils and extracts we see in their raw forms have residual solvents in them. I have a couple sniff tests, an actual sniffer that can pick up those solvents. We do not have a test right now for it, but the main point is that USP grade butane is completely different than butane that you buy in the store.
Food grade butane, right?
Well, no, USP is really the way
Past
to go.
food grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that if you're going to be ultimate level of safety, that's the way people in this industry in Colorado are doing it. They're buying, triple or quadruple refined butane that has no mercaptans, it has no additives to it. And that's the problem we're seeing, is you concentrate those additives that allow the human nose to pick up a leak in the line. So if you're grilling outside, you smell propane because of that. It's not until you go through a chemical supplier or a gas supply company, and some states will do that, others won't. It depends on what's going on. It's very hard for somebody to get USP grade butane delivered to their house,
Right.
period. And so
Is
if
it
you're working,
safe?
And you also
It's-
need to pay close attention how you use it. You don't want to use it in plastic. You want to use it in glass, right? Glass
Yeah,
or
there's a
steel.
lot-
There's
a lot
lot to go
to
with
that.
it. It is safe. Well,
it's, I really
Can't say.
draw a fine line here between what I can recommend and what I can't. But the safest way to go is CO2 and nitrogen, but it's really hard to reach those pressures and temperatures at the same time. You know what I mean? All of it has risk factors associated. You're all talking about your children, and I have to draw the line there. But as far as
that's so difficult.
As far as gases go, USP grade is the cleanest, but that does not mean it's safe.
Isn't butane in PAM though? The spray.
Oh yeah, and there's lots of aerosols and stuff.
So let's talk. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, if you do it correctly and you're purging out all the butane, I mean, it is what it is. Food has, PAM has butane. So let's compare apples to apples.
The reality is there's lots of adulterants and additives in a lot of the foods and candies and stuff that we eat all the time.
Right.
But this is a slightly different situation.
Totally.
You're talking about refining stuff. You've got solvents in the house. You've got children. And it can cause, the right mix can be a really bad juju one afternoon. And so, even if you can't get Everclear, it might be a good idea to just go down a step and get the strongest vodka you can. You know what I mean? I really have a tough time with this.
That's what I was looking for, because it does evaporate off anyway.
Alcohol.
And so, yeah, Rebecca, unfortunately, I mean, some states you can buy, any state you can buy liquor, of course, you know, that you can drive down the road that kills hundreds of thousands of people every year in whatever form or fashion. But it's amazing to me that you're not able to buy that food grade.
Well, and I think people are out there probably are wondering, well, why would you use butane then? Well, because it has an amazing way of stripping off the cannabinoids, right?
Exactly, and it does a really good job of that. The further refinement processes we see go on, the final products are gorgeous.
They are.
In the lab, but again,
takes a lot of work.
There's a lot of unreliability in the process. There's no way to tell if you've still got it left in it.
And you can also do solventless or bubble hash.
Right.
So let's not forget that and just do with the water, right?
Water
and I don't know how to do that, but
water extraction, sure. But yeah, I mean, the efficacy that we're talking about when we're dealing with our kids,
right?
Yeah,
that's tough. The best
really
way, folks, is to continue to write your senators and congressmen and get a regulatory model where you have us here.
Yes. And I hate
that answer
you have Jennifer that's able to do this for you.
Yeah.
So you know what? I know not everybody's there yet, but we all will be.
That's right.
And I say it every show, and I'm going to say it again. It just takes one lighthouse to bring in 1,000 ships. Okay, we're going to move to the next question here, Rebecca. So the second question is, how important is ratio when dosing? When dosing our children? Seems like the high ratio CBD to THC strains have been the ones everyone is after, but we're currently on a 3-to-1, and my son, I'm not going to say his name, is doing very well. I think better than he did on a 10-to-1.
Good.
Okay.
Good. I mean, literally, again, it just interacts differently with everyone, and if it's working and he's not miserable, there's no set ratio, and that's the thing is, the realm of carrying Cann Labs, doing all of this is going to bring us data to help understand and create dosing.
Yeah.
But right now, don't you agree?
I agree in a couple of senses. I mean, number one, and we've talked about this every week almost, like it's really important to challenge the system with different ratios, apparently. Then this is something that I've seen in a lot of different areas of this personal health care model, where you're doing the best you can and trying to get the best results possible. I think a lot of people are shying away from the Delta-9 because it's psychoactive. And again, tolerance increases very rapidly. It is extremely safe as well, especially in that matrix. And so there is no one answer in this case. And the folks that have gone after a one answer scenario tend to do a pretty good job with a studied population, but it loses efficacy or is not as effective as it should be.
It's the same thing. And for those of you that don't understand what we're talking about here as far as ratios and CBDs, we're talking about a syndrome called Dravet syndrome. Very violent form of epilepsy that typically hits young children, and we've been able to make this oil that's non-psychoactive, that has very high CBDs or cannabidiol, versus THC. THC can be an activator in this, but these children, for those of you that are just tuning in here, they're not getting high. So I want to preface that as we continue this conversation. And so I want to use Paige Figge as an example because she was our first, and her precious little daughter Charlotte, who we affectionately named the plant that we bred for her, Charlotte's Web.
Love it.
And this essentially has very low to no THC and very high CBD, so that we can make this oil. And 90% of her seizures are gone. They're
Yeah,
going
that's
away.
what she said last week was over 90% seizure reduction. But within that, she's played with
That's right.
up to 10
Several
different
ratios.
ratios.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty high number, and
keeps changing.
Yeah, and we had mentioned we don't know the child's state of mind.
Right.
We do not know what the world looks like to them, and so I have a really hard time judging that from my place anyway. But I definitely think that, again, if you have data to support the ratio that you're using and you're able to say that I actually have a 10-to-1 or a 3-to-1 and this works now and this doesn't, that's what you need to focus on. And I can't prescribe that. I can't recommend anything.
Nobody
but
can.
I
you
can
can't.
at least encourage you, to find the answer and to know that it's okay to not know. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know here, but if we use the analytical tools we have, wherever these folks are, at least to get that base answer and know where to go and where you came from.
And we're working on it, folks. I mean, we are working on it, but we're just out of the gate here. And Chris, you bring up a great point. And, to Paige's credit and everyone else out there that have been working with CBDs for their children, you don't know. It's kind of like going in the gym and staying with the same workout routine every week.
Yep.
If you don't manipulate and trick your muscles, you're not going to get the desired effect because your body gets used to things. So
Adapts and overcomes.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, the
I
biggest
hope that
point.
helps. It's really complicated.
It's
though,
complicated,
It is, but
this,
journal.
This,
I would journal, make
Yeah.
keep good records. And it sounds like, you follow something and look at your child. Are they smiling? Can they eat? Can they sleep?
Are they coloring?
Yeah.
Are they playing again?
Right.
In Charlotte's case,
Right.
she had a feeding tube, and now she's playing with her twin
Amazing.
sisters. She's coloring.
I call that success.
I call that a miracle, and I gotta tell you, I get teary-eyed every time I
See?
talk about Charlotte.
Totally.
But all of the kids, we're just out of the gate, and who would have thought that one single plant in its
Could've did it,
natural
yeah.
state could have stopped something like this, and now Charlotte's off all of her pharmaceutical medications. Even her neurologist at Children's Hospital said, we're done.
Yeah.
We've exhausted everything that we can give her, from Valium on down.
Yeah.
And so they came to us, and we said, well, we'll give it a shot. And Dr. Urbina, the head of Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, has been absolutely incredible to work
Awesome.
with us on
That's
this.
good.
Yep.
And understands we're not getting these children stoned. They're stopping their seizures. But again, who would have thought? Okay,
Yep.
and this is just one thing. Okay,
Oh, yeah, it's tip of the
this is
iceberg.
just tip of the iceberg on what this amazing plant can do.
Yeah,
do we have time for one more question here?
Cool.
All right, well, let's move on here. I've had this question asked 3 times over the week, and I know that this question to us who were in the industry seems a little bit elementary. Okay.
Nothing to me.
Now, there are no stupid questions, only
None.
stupid people, right?
I
I'm
could
kidding.
be one of those too.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The only
my
stupid
blonde moments.
The only stupid people I know are my brothers.
Oh, come on.
So this is a question that is asked over and over again, and I can understand the validity of the question. Can you get CBDs from hemp products, seeds, oils, things that are sold over the counter like in Whole Foods? Are you able to get the CBD ratio that you need, for example, for your children?
My inclination is to say no, and that's based in several different parts. I mean, those products are regulated and have to be shown to have very low levels of cannabinoids, period. They are sought after because of their oil in another form. It's not
Properties
the
of
cannabinoids,
that oil,
it's
right,
the
hemp
oil
oil.
itself, hemp oil itself. And it has anti-inflammatory properties.
And you
It
can buy hemp
feeds-
protein too.
Yeah, it feeds. Yeah, you can
It has
buy
omegas,
milled-
fatty acids.
Exactly,
Right.
and those are all really good for your endocannabinoid system. and your prostaglandin network, and
Overall good
cytokine
health.
network, overall good health and neurological signaling. All of our body's regulatory mechanisms work with those ligands or their metabolites.
Right.
And so that's what you're getting there. The cannabinoid levels are not near close to what you need, from those oils or infusions that we're making from the
Right.
what you'd call the drug type. So that's
Medical cannabis.
yeah, the medical cannabis plant or plant strains. All of this, if I could kind of describe the classical way of hitting this in the literature, there you've got a drug type and the fiber type is how they describe the two big classes of cannabis. Hemp being fiber type. That's been bred for its purposes
The
as a
industrial
fiber.
folks, yeah.
Exactly. And now if you take a bunch of that and cold press it or extract it, you can get elevated levels of cannabinoids, sometimes CBD acid, sometimes THC acid. You'd then have to go through a process to neutralize those if that was the case, if you wanted cannabidiol itself or delta-9 itself. But
Activate
most
them.
of those products on the shelves do not have those levels.
Right, and one of the things that we have to understand here in Colorado, we're very blessed
Yeah.
to have this knowledge and understanding. So when we get these emails and these questions that come in, we understand where they're coming from.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
we wish it was that simple.
Well, one woman had went out and bought a case of hemp seeds,
Right.
thinking that it's the same thing, because a lot of people call it hemp oil or this or that.
Cannabis, just the way I use cannabis gets convoluted.
It
And
does.
So I hear you, and there are rogue products out there. I mean, I've seen stuff come into the country from Canada that's been cleared by Border Patrol, by Health Canada, by the FDA, the DEA, and it's been tested in the state to have higher levels than you would have ever thought of cannabidiol or THC acid, etc. But again, there's two very different things.
Right.
Right. So let's move to the next question here. I have a lot of them, and I don't think we're going to get to all of them, but we can pick up on that again next week.
Of course.
I don't think we're ever going to catch up to all these questions. And
I hope
again,
not.
thank you all for sending the questions.
Yes,
Keep sending them.
thank
Send
you,
them in.
please.
And you know what? If you do have these situations where, I have to say this, and I'm just going to say it. If I had a child with Dravet syndrome or a child with a form of epilepsy that we've proven that this plant could work for, I'd pack up my U-Haul and I'd head to Colorado
Absolutely.
right now. I wouldn't
Yep.
wait for any state legislative changes. We know they're coming.
Access, yeah.
But I tell you what, if you need that kind of help, realmofcaring.com, get a hold of us. We got real estate agents. We got all these people waiting on call.
Cannlabs.com.
Cannlabs.com.
Facebook us, Cann,
Guys,
space labs.
we are here to help, period.
We are. And Colorado, may I say, is an amazing state.
So
Oh, yes.
we have 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes before our break. I'm gonna let me go through these here. Let's see okay. How do you test for molds, mildews, and pesticides? And do you often find them when you test?
So currently, we have a couple of folks coming in the next 30, 40 days to help me set up the microbiology side. That's simply because I'm time strapped and need
E. coli,
plug and play in
salmonella.
that. And that's for the micro side, enterobacters. A lot of what you would do in a standard microbial screen for, again, these guidelines come from the American Herbal Products Association. And yep, and they do a really good job. They've wrestled with this whole realm of testing and quality control in other medical plants. Anything that you find in a natural grocer's, for example. So that's coming on board. Our visual inspection, which is all we go off right now as we get this stuff running, is just a yes, no, and a graded scale for us. There's no chemical test involved at this stage.
For powdery mildew.
For powdery mildew, mold, insects, I've seen everything from caterpillars to fungus gnats come into the cannabis. I've seen a lot of horror stories. So yes, we see them. It's very present in trim, especially that people are using for extractions, and that's something that is another unanswered question out there. If you got a big bag of moldy trim and you concentrate that down, what are the levels of mycotoxins in there, and can you purge that or burn it up or do something with it? These are all unanswered questions, and I've not had the ability in the various labs I've consulted with and now been in to actually fully do. And that is my goal, is to bring that full range of quality control analysis into our lab. But again, it's a step-by-step process, and once we get there, we'll be able to answer those questions
You're
better.
getting there. You're doing it.
Yep.
Cann Labs, guys, cannlabs.com. This is the only lab in the state, honestly. And if you want the information, you go to cannlabs.com. You guys are constantly progressing on this. And you know what? There's really no good answer for anybody out there yet in the United States who is growing their own, if they're part of the 17 states that have medical marijuana. You just don't know, and that's unfortunate, but it's okay.
It is, and
Don't lose heart. We're moving.
At least
in
we're
that
moving, yeah.
I want to stress the fact that this does make it really difficult. We have a lot of answers, and there's a lot of literature to support what's going on, but at the same time, I've seen horror stories of stuff that comes into the lab with high levels of solvent, molds, gnats, fungus, etc. And it's really sad to see that the immunocompromised, the very old, the very young, anybody that needs this access still has to deal with those problems and gets blindsided by it. At the same time, the industry today is completely different than it was 3 years ago. And I see so much less of that now. So.
It is. And I'm sorry I got to cut this short. And in the future, it's going to be so much. Every day we're making progressions. And I am honored to be with you guys, know you guys, be in Colorado, be able to help write these laws, and be able to progress this. So, guys, anybody, you have any questions, cannlabs.com, realmofcaring.com. We're here for you. Period. That's it. Don't feel shy about contacting us, because we are here.
Out.
We want to answer your questions. We want to help you in any way that we can. So that's the end of Science Corner now. We're going to sign off. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back with Steph from Americans for Safe Access.
Thank you.
American Weed Realm Radio.
The clinic is proud to announce the 3rd annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for 2 to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Heady Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJprinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets: Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
2 of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much. Welcome back to American Weed Realm Radio. Josh Stanley here. I'm your host, and we've added a few guests here. We have Brian Kogan.
Hello.
Brian, hello. Thanks for coming. We got Joel Stanley, my younger brother.
How's it going?
We got Jesse Stanley with his mustache here.
The mustache is back, baby.
Yep, back in full force. Okay, Fire on the Mountain, you guys were just listening to. I think that's appropriate. Our hearts, our prayers go out to everyone dealing with these fires here in Colorado. It's a very serious situation. We've been on evac alert from our ranch, from our farm. Joel's on evac alert from his house right now. I have a very close friend that's house already burned down. So certainly our thoughts and our prayers go out to everybody here in Colorado. It's a very serious issue. And, to bring a little light to it, my wife today, she said, you know what? We live up in the mountains. And she said, well, if we had the evac alert, what are the list of things that you would take? And my first response was, I'd take my favorite underwear because they're so damn hard to find.
I'm out.
Yeah, we lost Brian. It is it's a very real issue. It's something that the Stanley brothers have been dealing with on our ranch and our farm. It's caused us to have a pause in our oil production for our cancer and epilepsy patients, which is a real shame. The highways have been closed, so we're not able to manifest the oil or the product to be able to get it in the hands of the patients that need it. So having said that, folks, everybody, thoughts and prayers to Colorado and the victims of these fires. It's just terrible. So moving on here, we have a very, very special guest, Brian Kogan here. I'm going to give you just a little bit of background, and then we're going to hear Brian's story. Since our show came out on National Geographic American Weed, we have had literally, I would say, hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 emails from people all over the world, from Australia to Scotland to Amsterdam, all over the place, who have asked us and said, you know what, I'm dealing with stage 3, stage 4 cancer, severe arthritis, MS, all of these, AIDS, HIV, and they've said, what can you ship us this oil? Can we get this oil? And the sad answer to that is no, because we have these crazy invisible boundaries and these invisible lines that we call states and countries, and everybody has their own rule. But we do have some of these special people that move to Colorado to be able to get this oil and get this help. We talk a lot about Dravet syndrome. We talk a lot about epilepsy. We talk about a lot, the non-psychoactives. And I invited Brian on the show here because Brian has a very special story. In Florida has the highest ratio of people that are not only hooked but purchase black market and legal market opiates or painkillers, Vicodin, Percocet, and the like. And Brian had really reached his end. He had a lot of abdominal surgeries and a lot of issues. And Brian had been, and he's not ashamed to say, been hooked on opiates, much like I was whenever I found this oil. And he has an amazing, compelling story. He had the courage to move to Colorado, get his residency here, get his red card. And so we want to hear his story here. Brian, welcome onto the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a real honor and pleasure.
Brian, I wanna start here. Tell us a little background about you in Florida. Okay, tell us about how this started with your surgeries and then the opiates and the painkillers and such.
Okay, first, the bottom line is my family and especially my niece Jana are stuck in Florida, so we have to get this plant legal so I can go back there. So that's why I'm doing all this. I never realized it was courage. I thought I left Florida because I had surgery lined up again, and probably I'd be out of intestines and be on a bag. And I, honest to God...
A colostomy bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because my last surgery, they said they took extra hours because I just looked so young and pathetic that they didn't want a kid on a bag. And I can't even imagine going through the surgery again. But I went to a doctor and said, I'm going to do a couple weeks in the hospital, and then I'm going to have to do rehab or Subutex or something, because after a couple weeks of morphine, I'm going to be hooked. And like you said, I'm not ashamed at all. I'm ashamed of some of the things I did, like stealing pills from my sick parents.
That's what addiction does.
Yeah, like something I cannot even fathom doing.
Sure.
But I think you're literally insane when you're in addiction. You should be held accountable. I'm not saying you get a free pass, but I'm not the same person on opiates and off.
But Brian, these pills you were taking, these pills were legal.
Yeah, everything I took. My drug dealers are doctors, and I would like to be nice about it, but
again, nothing's sacred on the realm here.
Yeah.
Please just be open.
Well, Florida, the thing with the pain clinics and the pill mills is just unbelievable. From what I know, 70 to 80% of the legal opiates make it to Broward and Palm Beach County. And I have a theory that everyone in Florida is either an addict or in the cancer system. Somehow they're paying for treatment for one or the other.
The new opiate of the masses is in fact an opiate, and whether it's Percocet, which is an opiate mixed with Tylenol,
which destroyed my
morphine, methadone, Dilaudid. You're talking about compounds that are virtually the same thing as heroin when you actually look at the molecule. So it is
the
legal heroin
same thing
sales.
as heroin.
Yeah.
It's all
precisely
derived.
the same
derived
thing.
from this. And Brian, this wrecked.
It just costs more.
This wrecked your liver.
Well, a lot of what I did was during the pills before I was graced with OxyContin. The Vicodin and Percocet all have a lot of acetaminophen in it, and if you're supposed to take 2 a day, fine, but when you're taking the whole bottle a day, that's got to be the pills I was taking seemed to be why I was ill. Not originally. I had a bunch of surgeries when I was really young. I think I had 2 by the time I was 4. And I think I would have probably done drugs anyway and become an addict, but the way it worked out, there was no way I couldn't have been. And so the bottom line is,
you couldn't have gotten through the pain. I've seen your scar, okay, if you don't mind me saying. I understand what it was you went through. You've been cut open from hell to breakfast. You know, these are the pills that they said that you needed. The problem is, and the same thing with me, okay, when I had my back surgery, I didn't want to get hooked on these things, but I got hooked on them.
Yeah.
You know, it finally took my wife to come to me and say, that's it. I'm done picking you up off the bathroom floor at 4 in the morning, right?
Thank God. Yeah, that happened to me the first time, and I wound up in the system in Florida, like you were saying. I was a patient in California in 1996 when Prop 215 passed.
Patient, yes.
Yeah. And then I went back to Florida and became a criminal, and
you actually
I should have fought it.
You got busted for buying
buying
marijuana from an undercover.
I tried to buy drugs from the police.
Folks, this is what we're spending our tax money on, is to bust people who have legally now become addicted to opiates, and now they're going to put them in a corner and try to put them in jail, because we house 75% of the world's nonviolent offenders, 5% of the population.
How dare you go off our legal heroin and seek something that's safe, such as cannabis, and that's basically the slap in the face that a lot of people get in a lot of different states. People who've been using medicinally for years cannabis safely and using it to get off of opiates.
How dare you? Good point, Joel. How dare you get off of our legal heroin? Okay,
yeah,
that's the United States standpoint. Take Colorado. Just Colorado, for example, there are 800,000 people in Colorado that are uninsured. And then out of those 800,000, whatever condition it may be, they opt for an alternative treatment like cannabis, something that has never in the history of recorded history has it ever caused an overdose or a death.
I've tried.
It can't. Yeah, you can't eat enough. The safety ratios, folks, and if you don't know these safety ratios, you're going to know them now. For and the safety ratios are how much you can eat or take to have an overdose. Okay, and this is from the American Medical Association. This is the AMA. Percocet is 1 to 10. Vicodin is 1 to 12. Morphine is 1 to 6. Cannabis, folks, you ready for this? Is 1 to 10,000. Meaning I can put you in a room with hay bales of marijuana and a knife and a fork, and you can sit and you can gorge all day long. You may want to die, but you're not gonna. Okay? So nobody has done this. So how dare you get off of this legalized heroin and then go to an alternative form of treatment or alternative form of therapy? And you know what we're going to do? Just as a bonus, we're going to lock you up for it.
Well, Josh, they've got to pay for bullets and life vests and things like that for all the wars that they've got to start. So,
well, guys,
who's going to make those?
You know what? We get sarcastic, we get angry on this show, but for good reason, okay? It's time to wake up. It's time to educate the masses, and it's time to show people what this plant can do. Is it the end-all, be-all? Of course not. But it's a start, and it's an option, and it's a viable, safe option for people looking for an alternative form of treatment. So, Brian, I want to ask you something.
Sure.
So, tell us a little bit about your move to Colorado. You met us, Realm of Caring. Tell us a little bit about this oil and how that's helped you.
All right. The Realm of Caring is a scam, and I advise everyone to stay away from the Stanley.
Absolutely.
Stay away from the Stanley brothers.
Mostly
not
Josh.
until you send at least $5,000.
Yeah. Stay away from Jesse's mustache. That's the only thing.
Well, okay. I like to say befriended. I met Irvin Rosenfeld, a federal medical marijuana patient, and hopefully people know this. The United States government sends 4 people still marijuana, 300 joints a month.
Yet they deny its medicinal benefit.
Right, at the exact same time, which makes them mass murderers. But
hypocrites
we'll do that
at the
next
very
week.
least. So what did it feel like when you came here and you met the Realm of Caring, you met the Stanley brothers? Yeah, just tell us a little bit about that. We have about 2 minutes left.
Oh, no pressure then. So far, I met the Stanley brothers, and first of all, I don't like the Stanley brothers on National Geographic's American Weed, but I fucking love the Stanley family, the real ones that I met at a park, the real human beings. So far, they've given me free meds, free doctor visits, transportation, a job, and a place to stay. And I've repaid them by setting fires every place, starting.
Don't say that. They actually will come march through our doors.
So you're the one. Yeah.
They have been every place that I've been. It started up at your farm, and then John, one of the Stanleys, will let me stay at his place with barely knowing me. This is the kind of people they are. And then I've had the problem of premature evacuation all week, I like to say. I left John's place, and now I think my stuff is probably on fire in Colorado Springs.
Well, yeah, as well as I think most of the brothers. What has the oil done for you? Are you getting off the opiates?
You can drug test me. I don't know the last time I took an opiate.
What's the oil doing for you?
The oil, my thing is the oil, there's no amount of smoking that is ever going to cure me. It helps with symptoms. The oil actually cures my intestines and the scar tissue. What they were going to cut me in half and go in and do, I can do on a cellular level by taking this oil and not have to take pharmaceuticals. And I don't recall ever feeling this happy and healthy, just normally waking up happy every day and wanting to go do stuff.
Yeah, Brian,
it saved my life. It's the bottom line.
You have Crohn's disease, right?
Amongst other things, yeah.
And that's very common for Crohn's patients to swear up and down by cannabis concentrates. It seems to be one of those conditions that it just really, really helps, and understanding why is very important. So hopefully more research can go on for cannabis and Crohn's.
And guys, I hate to cut this short, Brian. I want to thank you for coming on. Can we have you back on to share your story?
I'd like to come back anytime you want.
Great, and we're happy that you've come into our lives. We want to hear your story. The world wants to hear your story, and we want to keep this going.
And I want to tell it. Time's up.
And folks, I got to tell you, please, okay? The Stanley brothers, we can't do this alone. realmofcaring.com. Get involved. Become a part of the realm. Donate. Get whatever you can. We are doing the best we can to handle as many cancer patients, Crohn's patients, epileptic patients, AIDS, HIV, whatever we can do. But guys, we could do so much more with your help. Please join the Realm, realmofcaring.com.
Please do, folks. They're saving lives.
Yes, we're doing the best we can to save lives. And guys, realmofcaring.com, visit it, become a part. We are all the Realm. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. American Weed Realm Radio.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On Grass. Runongrass.com.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The clinic is proud to announce the third annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for two to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJprinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
welcome back to American Weed Realm Radio. Josh Stanley here, your host. I'm joined here with Joel Stanley, my brothers, and Jesse Stanley, the Mustache King. We have a very, very special guest that stopped in that was in Colorado here. We have Steph Sherer here, and Steph is the director of ASA, Americans for Safe Access. And I tell you what, this organization has done more good for the cause of pushing medicinal cannabis than I could think of just about any other. You know, I think of a lot of these people out here, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I think about Asa, and we think about Steph. And Steph, we're so honored to have you here tonight. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to give the mic over to you because I want everybody, listeners, watchers, everybody wants to hear what's been going on in your world. What are the progressions? What are the detractions? What are the obstacles?
Well, that's a pretty broad question, but I think we're all a little disappointed with the Obama administration. I think here in Colorado, people were the latest to feel that sting, and really between 2009 and 2011, I think we all thought that we were taking a huge step forward and that we were going to be able to really create safe access programs without
change.
Change. The change was here, and then we're going to be able to create access programs in a environment where we didn't have to worry about federal raids and have to worry about the Department of Justice interfering with our work. And I think that for our movement, a lot of us took a deep breath and maybe didn't feel like our activism was as needed. That we heard the president and the Department of Justice say, as long as people were following state law, we're going to back off. And so I think a lot of the patient advocates and the providers and everyone really sort of stepped back away from their activism and really focused on regulations at the local level, and really, for patients, a lot of us got to worry about our medical conditions for a while. And I think it's very clear that our work isn't over at the federal level. And so a lot of the work that we've been doing is trying to re-engage our base and remind them that the reason that we had the political space in 2009 and had a president that came out, or a presidential candidate that made promise to us, was because advocates were active, that they'd created a space where a presidential candidate felt like he had to make promises to us, and we have to keep up that advocacy.
I think a lot of presidents, they come and go. The issue is they're, in my opinion, I think, and a lot of people's opinion, is there are different puppets that change every 4 years or every 8 years, but the marionette stays the same. And so you hear a lot of promises, you hear a lot of change, and all of us, I think we were all doing cartwheels naked down Main Street whenever he got elected. The unfortunate part of the situation is that there's been more raids under the Obama administration than there was under G.W. Moron.
More in 4 years than there were in his 8.
More in 4 than there were in his 8, and that's really upsetting. But you said something that really piques my interest. You said people, they changed their focus from a national perspective and went local. And people went local, and then they started to put together their own rules and regulations from a local perspective. How do you view that? Because I think that's a good grass fire to start.
No, I think it's exciting. It's a lot of the work that advocates do may seem pretty boring to people, but sitting in a city council meeting and hearing the chief of police talk about how they want to make sure that patients are served is really an enlightening moment, right? We have everybody sitting around talking about how we're going to deal with the quality of cannabis for patients. And, the work that people have been doing at the local levels and the state level for regulations is really, it's setting a framework for how we're going to move this forward. But as medical cannabis advocates, we can't be single-focused. We've got to push forward at the local level, continue to advocate at the state level, but we've got to keep our eyes on the federal prohibition. And someday, I opened our office in D.C. in 2006, which was hard to do. I had to leave California and live as a criminal again, which I do now. It's my access in D.C. is back to skater kids instead of going to medical cannabis facilities. And that choice was difficult, but it was something that I knew we had to do, that we had to have a voice in DC. And when I first started meeting with our elected officials in 2006, a lot of them kept saying, it's great to hear from you, but we never hear about this from our constituents. And I thought they were lying. I thought that they just wanted to get me out of their offices And so I started asking our community. You know, I travel a lot and speak in front of our community a lot. And so every time I speak in front of our community, I ask people, how many people here have met with their federal representatives? And every time, less than 3% raise their hands.
That's so unfortunate.
And so I think people need to understand that if you are not meeting with your member of Congress, they're not hearing about this issue, right? Not from our side. They are hearing about this issue from the DEA. They're hearing about this issue from Partnership for Unreasonable Drug Policy, or whatever they call themselves. And so they are hearing the opposite side. But you know, no matter how you feel about democracy, our elected officials are sent to Washington to represent their constituents, right? Not to represent all the laws of Colorado, not to represent all the laws of California. So as a constituent, if you don't go and ask them to end this problem, then they have no reason to. And in fact, they might not even be supposed to, right? So it's really Americans for Safe Access. We're here to help you meet with your elected officials. But I can't do this by myself, and no organization can. And so I really encourage your listeners, if you're scared to meet with your elected official, go to our website. We have a training center that teaches you on how to set up a meeting with elected official, how to have those meetings. And this August, all of your members of Congress are going to be home. And so we're asking everybody across the country to set up meetings with your elected officials in August and make sure that they know that they're supposed to be representing you in D.C.
Steph, thank you so much for putting that out there. Most people don't understand this. Everybody, every 4 years, we get a new person, or every 8 years, and then everybody gripes for 4 years or for 8 years. But nobody does anything about it. And Steph is absolutely right. Get out there, write, email, schedule appointments with your senator or your congressman. Get in to, you know what? We get so many emails that people say, what can we do? How can we help? You know, Joel, how many do you get a week? 50?
Quite a few.
And the answer is very simple, because these are elected officials that represent you, okay? Now, some of them, unfortunately, that's really not what they do. But for the most part, they're elected officials that represent the voters. And if you let them know about medicinal cannabis, and I call it the snowball effect, and this is what I've seen happen since the year 2000. We go back to the year 2000, and you may ask the right-wing Republican leader at Focus on the Family in Colorado Springs, and he would say, no way would I ever vote medical marijuana. And now he said, you know what? No, I would never use medical marijuana, but I know my neighbor who has benefited, my Aunt May, my friend's Aunt May, my friend's grandmother. Somebody knows somebody who's now benefiting from medical marijuana. And that's that grass fire, and that's how it starts. But until we get this to our elected leaders, we're not going to see that change. And so we implore you, ASA implores you, go to the website, and the website is
AmericansForSafeAccess.org.
AmericansForSafeAccess.org, and they've been around forever, and they're doing everything that they can possibly do. But guys, it's not just the realm of caring. It's not just ASA. It's not MPP. It's not normal. It's you. It's all of you, and I know that we have so many viewers from across the globe, and we're honored to have that. But guys, if you're in Scotland, and we have one of these letters here from Scotland, write it from Scotland, okay? Everybody's asking, when are you coming to our country? We're trying to fix ours first. Right now we have these invisible borders and boundaries where one state, a cancer patient, can become free of cancer through a cancer oil, potentially. And then you have another state where you get a felony and you're locked up. This is our fight. This is our cause. But we never, again, activate. Remember, we always educate. Steph, do you have any closing?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, a few weekends ago we had a training program, and something that I heard several activists say to me was, you know, for the last 4 years I've been complaining about how Americans for Safe Access should be doing this, and this group should be doing that. And what I realized today is I'm supposed to be doing that. And so I really want people to understand that it's really our collective actions that make a difference. And I'm happy to live in D.C., which I call Hollywood for ugly people, to represent you all there. But it doesn't matter what I do there if you're not meeting with your elected officials at home. So together we can do this. So thank you all, and thank you so much for having me.
Steph, it's an honor to have you, and we hope to have you again on here, and hopefully you can call in. I know you're not in Colorado often, but folks, just to reiterate that, It takes all of us. That's why we call it the realm of caring. We are the realm, okay? And whether you're a patient or whether you're an advocate, it takes you, it takes us to make a difference. We're going to take a very short break here, and we're going to be back with Ask Dr. Shaq, a very new program to the show, and one of my personal heroes and one of my best friends, Alan Shackelford. We'll see you here in just a few minutes.
The clinic is proud to announce the third annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for two to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJprinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
2 of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com.
Welcome back to American Weed Realm Radio. Josh Stanley here, your host. I'm joined tonight with my brother Joel Stanley and my brother Jesse Stanley. And I want to thank Steph for coming in from Americans for Safe Access. It was an honor to have you on the show. And now I'd like to introduce a personal hero of mine and also a very, very close friend of mine, Dr. Alan Shackelford. This segment of the show is typically going to be longer. I'm working on the show. We have more content. There's so much we want to say that we just don't get it in. This segment of the show will typically be about 25 minutes, and it's called Ask Dr. Shaq. So I'd like to introduce the world and our listeners here to one of the most amazing people I know, Dr. Alan Shackelford. Welcome.
Hi, Josh. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for being on here every week. We have been friends for, about 3 years now?
Seems like 300 with everything that's been going on, yeah. And,
it's amazing we still have our hair.
No kidding.
Yeah. And 3 years ago, we talked about the realm of caring. We talked about a program like this that was able to help people with serious debilitating conditions be able to get a hold of concentrated medicinal cannabis in whatever form so that we could do what we call observational research studies. making no claims, having no idea, understanding that people tend to, some get better from this. We have wanted to do this for quite some time. And now we're launching this, and now we have this show. Now I have you on here every week. We've got a plethora of questions from people from all over the world that want to know how this could benefit them. But first off, and tonight, folks, I'm really sorry we ran out of time on this, but tonight I want you to get to know who Dr. Alan Shackelford is. I want to get to know his take on the realm of caring on concentrated medicinal cannabis, oils, tars, edibles, and things of that nature. So, Doc, will you just introduce yourself?
Well, pardon me, long day today, talking far too much, and I apologize for that. I am a physician. I went to medical school in Europe, did research as a medical student, which was published in a number of different peer-reviewed journals, primarily focusing on immune function and the response of the urological tract to infection, and that led to a postgraduate series of postgraduate training programs at major teaching hospitals of Harvard Medical School. My first training program was internal medicine, and then I did a nutritional medicine fellowship, which was clinical in nature, and then a research fellowship at Harvard Medical School, in which I focused on the primarily the immune system and inflammatory responses and how the two work together. And interestingly, that research looked at arachidonic acid and cyclooxygenase and the degradation products of those particular enzymes, which are also intimately involved in the endocannabinoid system, which was really not known at that time. And it turns out that, in fact, the cyclooxygenase enzymes are a part of the production of the endocannabinoids that all animals produce. And it's those characteristics of the endocannabinoid system and deficiencies in the endocannabinoids that we think are intimately associated in immune dysfunction as well as degenerative diseases. I then subsequently did a behavioral medicine fellowship, 2 years clinical and research, looking at how behaviors influence autoimmune function, immune function in general, and autoimmune diseases, as well as just simply stress and the impact of stress hormones. I came out to Colorado quite some time ago, 1994, and as you said, 3 years ago, became interested in cannabis and the research that supports its use as a treatment option. And there is a great deal of research, not nearly enough, which is unfortunate, and there are many reasons for that, which we will discuss at some point in the future. What is really fascinating about the use of cannabis as a treatment option is the variety of different conditions that can be addressed using cannabis in its variety of different forms, from vaporized, which isn't necessarily the most appropriate or best approach, but ingested forms, and back to vaporization or smoking even. There are certain conditions where it's appropriate and certain conditions where it perhaps isn't the best option. As I've observed treatment responses to in particular ingested cannabis, it became quite apparent that there was a different mechanism in play. And as you said at the outset, we began to discuss how we could observe patients' responses to various ingested forms of cannabis, from more or less standard dosing to highly concentrated forms. And there really is not a great deal of research on this. Colorado is a perfect location for doing the types of studies that we've talked about, which are essentially observational. We see how people respond to the various forms of cannabis that they use and follow their progress or lack thereof. We really often don't know.
Sure, we have to be realistic.
We do. And yet, there is anecdotal evidence that says quite convincingly that concentrated cannabis forms have different effects, in particular in devastating illnesses like cancer. And there is a body of, I would say, laboratory research that says that cancers could in fact respond quite well to THC and cannabidiol. So we have constructed this observational research protocol to see how people respond, categorize it, follow it, and report on it.
And thank you for all of that. And in saying that, I have to back this up. Again, and we say this all the time here at the Realm of Caring, the Stanley brothers, we make no claims. What we're here is to try to provide a better quality of life. We would like to know why, many times, these patients get better through this oil. And that's why we do what we call observational research studies. And we're going to take a call here in just a second because we have 5 more minutes. And I apologize, folks, but we're going to have Dr. Shaq every week for a half hour. But, you know, we call it observational research studies because we're not under the control of the FDA. Okay, and so we don't have to do double-blind placebo studies. For thousands of years, we did what we called observational research studies, and we observed the patients, right? We observed their responses, and that's what we hope to do with this program, and that's why we're so excited. We have some people that have immense success with this, and then there are others that don't respond, and we want to know why.
And that will be probably a function down the road of other studies, including laboratory studies and animal and probably human studies, which we really have difficulty doing in the United States due to the restrictions that have been placed on using or studying cannabis in general. Other countries are not quite so draconian, and it may well be that the research studies that will shed the greatest amount of light on these particular questions will have to be done outside the country. Nonetheless, these studies will be done.
Isn't that interesting, though, Doc? And I want to bring this up. I think, you know, everyone listening, this is very important. We have contacts with people in Israel, people in France, Portugal, Spain, and, you know, they have a nationalized healthcare system that they want our information. They're asking us to come here because why? It alleviates their national health care and it saves them money. It's the opposite situation in the United States, unfortunately, because the health care system is actually put on us, which is why you'll hear me affectionately call it the sick care system many, many times. So I think that's very interesting. We're going to take a call, Doc, and I'm really sorry. Folks, we got plenty of time with Doc in the weeks to come. I've got a list of questions you have for him. They're stacking up, and they're going to be very, very, very big as we go on. But right now I'd like to take a call from Jason from California as we wrap the show up.
Hi, how you doing?
Jason, we got you here?
Yes, hi, how you doing?
Amigo, how are you? It's good to hear from you.
Good.
This is Josh
Thank
here.
God.
I've got Dr. Alan Shackelford, Joel Stanley, Jesse Stanley, and we've got Steph here in the studio. What's on your mind?
Nothing much. I was calling just to tell you guys are doing a great job. I'm very proud of you, first thing. Second thing is, I'm working on the CBDs with my son, and, we do a lot of trial and error and research of our own out here in California, working with Harborside and CBD Science and different people that have been helping us out and trying to help figure this out.
Jason, what is your son diagnosed with?
He has Dravet syndrome. It's a rare form of epilepsy. It's a sodium channel in the brain that doesn't distribute sodium correctly. It's located in the SCNA1 gene.
Correct. And we're just getting familiar with that here in the last 6 months here in Colorado. And actually, Jason, now that I look at it and we think back to Weed Wars, you were kind of our inspiration regarding this. And I've got Joel here. So Joel?
Yeah, hey Jason. Jason contacted Paige, or Paige contacted Jason about Charlotte. Jason's been heading up a lot of cool stuff in California and educating parents out here as well. And Jason, we thank you for that, for being a huge support for the cause and another courageous parent out there who was willing to go against the grain and do something that you found work for Jaden, right?
Yes. Well, you have to look at it like this. If you see your kids suffering every single day, and I know you guys have kids and love your children, and when you love your child so much, you see him suffering, you'll do whatever it takes to make him better. We did try 12 different medications, 2 from Europe, and nothing was working. My son had a seizure every single day of his life, from when he was 4 months old to his 4.5. The first day I gave him the CBD tincture was the first day he ever went myclonic, seizure-free. And that totally changed his life. There has been moments here and there. He's not totally seizure-free yet, but also we have got him down from 22 meds down to 5. So he does have withdrawals while he's coming off these medications. And today we were calculating how many pills my son's taken since he's 5 years old. I think we calculated he's taken over 20,000 pills in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Oh, my word.
Well, it's hi, Jason. This is Dr. Shackelford. It's remarkable.
How you doing, Dr. Shackelford?
I'm doing well, thanks. And you? One of the things that is remarkable about this is, first, that unfortunately it falls to you as a parent to do the research that we should be doing as a medical community. We need you've done a remarkable job, and it should be spurring the remaining people within the medical and scientific communities to address this question, utilize the information that you have gathered in your really on the ground, boots on the ground, practical experimentation to see what works and what doesn't. And now it's up to us as a research community to take that experience and study it in a more in-depth and molecular way, if you will. And ultimately, I hope that will happen. And thank you for being courageous and taking those steps. And we hope that your experience will translate into more effective treatments for people with seizure disorders in general, and in particular children with Dravet syndrome.
Well, Dr. Shackelford, thank you very much, first thing. Second thing is, you're exactly right. You couldn't take the words out of my mouth more than the way you said it perfectly. I've been begging for more research. I've been begging for more funding for this because, I mean, we put a lot of money into other, of course, when I say pharmaceutical companies, I know people have their own, and everyone has their own theories and whatever, and I respect that. But when it comes to what I've seen with my own eyes, I've tried 12 different medications. I've never seen anything work for my son in any way. It started changing the seizures, different things started happening. And when I come out there and I say, I have proof, I have video evidence, I have documents. My son's been in the ambulance 45 times since I gave him CBD. He hasn't been in the ambulance once. It shows you, things he can never do before. Now he's doing, comprehending. My son's eye contact's coming back. Now when I tell him to give me a hug or a kiss, he gives me a hug or a kiss, and that's worth more than $1 million, which I couldn't tell you before.
Amen.
And we've been to different doctors, and there was a doctor one time at Stanford University that told me that my son will never talk and never walk. I asked him for a doctor's note for speech therapy, and he told me, I'm not going to give you one. And I asked him why. He said, he pretty much told me to give up. He goes, your son's never going to talk. You need to love your son for who he is. And I was so upset, I got up and I never came back to Stanford after that. And not just that, the funny thing is I found out the guy was giving us the wrong medications because I went to a Dravet Syndrome Foundation meeting, and there was a list of 5 medications to not give your kid. Well, 3 of them that were up there was 3 of them that the doctor has given my son that were sodium channel blockers or different things that shouldn't be given to kids with Dravet syndrome. And
one of the concerns, of course, is that doctors don't have a great deal of experience dealing with this particular syndrome, which we don't really actually fully understand. It's a relatively rare. It occurs in 1 to 20,000 to 1 to 40,000 births, and we simply don't know a great deal about it. So it's very easy actually to take the physician to task, but a lot of doctors just don't know, and they're trying. Most doctors try to do the very best job they can. Some are clearly neglectful, and I certainly am not putting that label on this particular doctor, but it's a difficult problem, and I think that people's experience, sometimes doctors in particular, their experience is that when they don't know, they try to do something and try to help. The problem is that in such a rare condition, that sometimes isn't the right thing. So we are trying to gather additional information, all of us, and your experience will help not only your son but other children, not only here in this country or in California or Colorado, but around the world. This is not something that's limited to North America, and the information that you're gathering, that we're gathering, will, I think, translate into more attention from the academic community and research communities, and we'll be able to do some remarkable things. And thank you for what you've accomplished.
And guys, I'm sorry I have to cut in here. This is the end of our show. Jason, I want to thank you for being so courageous as coming out first with this. This has prompted parents with children with Dravet from all over the world, not our country, all over the world, to seek this. And you know what? Sometimes the answers are in your closet. And many times, as Dr. Shackelford said, doctors, they want to do their best, but you know what? They're strapped. When you have
Yes,
to
I
deal
know
with
that too.
malpractice insurance and you're dealing with the AMA, it's very, very difficult. But that's what we're here for. We're trying to come out here and educate the world as to what this plant has the possibilities of doing. Jason, I want to thank you for calling in. I want to thank all my guests tonight. What an amazing show. Thank you all so much. The only thing that I think we could probably do better is Jesse shave that damn mustache.
Not happening.
And guys, please, realmofcaring.com. The Stanley brothers, we can't do it on our own. We really can't. Please go, donate, give what you can, volunteer, do what you can. Realmofcaring.com. We need help. With us, we can help 100 cancer patients. With you, we can help 100,000. Jesse?
Also, for all the Colorado listeners out there, Bob Krause's trial is still going on. Try to show up. Joel, what time does it start tomorrow?
Every morning, 8 a.m., El Paso County Courthouse. Be there for Bob if you can. This affects all of us. It's a very big trial.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to give a shout out to Healthy Creations Edibles. Thank you guys for offering your MIPS for us to do this for the patients. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for opening your hearts and letting us make this oil and create reality for these patients, these children, these cancer patients, and everyone else. For everyone else, we're going to see you guys next week. We love you. We're thinking about you. Please send us your questions. Get involved. realmofcaring.com. Thank you.
Good night.
The clinic is proud to announce the 3rd annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for 2 to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Heady Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJprinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.